stopped.
Yeah.
The cutbacks, they're awful.
Okay, here are the minutes, by the way,
I did get those.
that we, I must admit, I didn't tidy them up. They need a little tidying, but I haven't got around to that yet. But they're a little bit staccato, but they serve a purpose.
Hi Kevin, how are you?
I think that's page 2 of the minutes.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is, I figured you had a copy.
Okay, so we bring the meeting to order. Here we go. Approval of minutes. You've got to look through it first.
Doesn't much matter, we're changing them, aren't we?
I think it should be 97K left for building committee to spend, not 100. I think we might have said 100 though. And it's
No,
really-
you said 97 the last meeting.
Did we say that? I wasn't sure.
But I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Okay, I guess, if you notice, I sent you a copy of yet again the letter that JCJ sent to us. Now you might wonder why on earth I did that. Well, I should have prefaced it and said that essentially he had sent that to us via FedEx. He had sent it to the financial director's office, who then, my name and the financial director picked it up. She called me, I said read it, so she read it. I was expecting it to be something more dramatic than that, and apparently it was just a letter. His argument being, of course, that he wasn't sure, since we hadn't responded, he wasn't sure that we had received it. So this is his making sure we received his request. So you saw my response to it. It was a suggested response. I wondered whether you'd like to discuss my response to that.
I didn't see the letter.
Oh, you did?
No.
Okay, well, it was a copy of what you've already seen.
And
I thought
basically
the response
saying
was
that,
It was,
that.
it's
saying
just,
it's still the 15.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Good job. I tried to stop them, Kevin. They're ruthless. They're like that.
Okay. So now,
We just approved the minutes.
That's good.
We didn't need you this time.
okay. So now we received the letter before. We didn't acknowledge it. Now we've acknowledged it by signature because they've accepted it as FedEx.
Correct.
So now we need to respond.
Well, I did suggest,
I thought you said that. I thought you were just sending it to us to show us that.
no, I hadn't sent it.
Oh.
Oh no, I said, if you notice, the first line was, guys, look this over.
Yeah.
I never send anything until I take that off. I want you to look at it and decide whether it's appropriate or not.
I was fine with it.
I thought it was appropriate. Yeah, I thought.
I
was
got some
fine with
grammar
it.
corrections.
In fact, I thought it was sent.
Good. What were they?
My mother used to live in Africa,
Right here.
What's that?
My mother was,
That's
my mother
supposed
was
to be,
supposed
oh.
to
Yeah.
be her labor. No, she
Oh,
corrected.
right. You know, I make that mistake all the time. I don't know.
Because you don't hit spell check.
I do, quite often, but it didn't pick that up because it's an accepted word.
I think this letter is a good start, but I think there should be other items.
I was going to ask you, do you want me to bring up the issue of the electrical fuses and all that jazz?
Mhm.
You want to incorporate that into it?
Yes. Let me just, if everybody would, I'd just soon read it out loud, and we discuss it paragraph by paragraph,
Sure.
if everybody's agreeable to that.
Sure.
Okay. At a meeting on July 31st, the committee decided there was no need to respond to your last letter as your letter failed to address the issues we commented on by our last email. Something of June 4th, which I have added to save you the bother of looking it up. The committee was surprised and disappointed that you were requesting a credit for $15K to design $15K, requesting a credit for $15K design and construction costs, or maybe just a comma. For the 4 classroom building, after the committee informed you that we were delaying any further design work on this item until the main construction project was complete. So you just need a comma. In my opinion, please, anybody jump in?
Keep going.
On January 22nd, 2013, we informed you by email as follows, and it's a copy of the email. Your response was, I will get back to you on this. We did not hear from you on this issue again. A meeting this spring between yourself, Kim Jackson, and I, you acknowledged awareness of the potential cancellation without complaint. We assume, therefore, the issue was settled. We trust, in the light of this information, you will reconsider your request for payment for the 4 classroom building since any work that you have undertaken on your behalf was not authorized by the committee. Something is wrong with that sentence.
Well, it sounds awkward to me.
Yeah. The other thing is, it would basically the 4 classroom addition. And then maybe a period, and then something where there was no, you never came back and indicated you spent the funds, or I was trying to, basically he showed us a couple sketches, which he did on conceptual design, which he was paid for in full.
And he never did any more than that.
He's did a couple of, one drawing, 1 page, showing the water line going around out back, theoretically, and he sketched in the 4 classrooms.
That was not relevant to the
It
design.
was not relevant to the design.
But he's charging us he's trying to charge us like he gave us a complete set of drawings.
Yes.
That's correct.
And he
He
did.
hasn't. He gave us 1 sketch, that's it.
A
Yeah,
floor
that-
plan
That
is what
is
he
not,
gave us.
that is not a set of DDs or
Right,
CDs.
right. So I don't understand why it's such an issue with the guy.
Okay, we
He's-
feel,
Well, you know,
He's trying to bully us, is what he's trying to do.
he's trying to claw back the money that we've taken from him.
Right.
we feel that the money offered for the inverter issue is inadequate, but we're prepared to compromise on a higher figure. All other items are satisfactory. That sentence is good. Once you've addressed our concerns and you avoid introducing extraneous legalese,
I let John use the big words. I use this.
maybe we will find a compromise that will be satisfactory to both parties.
Now, I wasn't sure if you wanted to put that find a compromise at this point.
Well,
if
isn't
we-
that what it's all about?
Well,
We could
the way,
eliminate that.
the way, if we send this letter, by adding that is meaning we are willing to discuss it and meet you somewhere in between.
Right. Isn't that what it's all about? I think-
A compromise is that. We're basically not saying no, so therefore he doesn't have to go into his next legal action. He just basically was saying, you know,
Okay, I just wanted you to think about it and make a decision. Do you want
Yeah.
to compromise or not?
Yes.
then I think we
yeah.
should add another sentence before this last sentence saying that another
Item is a-
problem has arisen
Alright.
with the design of the
Lighting
circuit.
circuit.
lighting circuitry,
Mm.
which has caused multiple fuse failures.
We're talking about like
Which-
$4,000 or $8,000 or something, is that right?
Yeah, which we,
4. We give him 4, he,
Well, if he picks up the phone and calls an attorney, it's gonna cost him more than $4,000.
well, he's gonna lose 8, and we're gonna lose 8.
Right.
He owes us 4. We give him 4. But then we're not quite settled this, because this is another piece of extra money that's gonna come up. This last item is gonna cost money,
Yeah,
and that's gotta come out of his
right,
side as well.
right.
so we just leave it that you don't state any numbers.
No,
Yeah, exactly, don't say any numbers, ask him for compromise, tell him about the new problem.
all right.
But I think you should add a
And-
line
but-
in here
but
stating,
You might,
To tell him about the new problem, I think totally undermines his argument, you know what I mean? It's gonna put him on the defense instead of the offense.
you know, I was thinking of put something in there, lest we find, or further problems with the building,
I wouldn't say that, that's basically saying that we're going witch hunting.
I was gonna say, that's kind of fishing, that's.
Yeah,
that's
no,
looking
I
for
just
trouble.
say that
I
this
think it
other,
is, we have another problem that's before us, we have it on the agenda, and, you know, we weren't, 2 weeks ago, we weren't considering this problem, now here it is, and we have to address it, so I
I
don't
think
agree
just
with that.
basically stating the fact that this other issue has arisen.
So
And-
what is the other issue now, is the thing is unbalanced, the electric service is unbalanced?
The circuit, apparently the circuit is divided into different pieces, but apparently there's too much load on one part as opposed to spreading it over other parts.
Isn't that just as simple as reworking the box, no?
What I would think, yeah.
I read the letter that came out on that, and, the problem is you're reworking the box to balance it, you still have one circuit that's still 1.3 times over the capacity of the fuse. That's even after,
So it has to be, that circuit has to be divided up more and
it almost
replaced.
looks like they have to pull another circuit,
Right, so he has to run,
just from what,
a feed has to get run out to pick up some of that overloaded circuit.
yeah. So, I think that, I'd just like to make mention in the letter, stating that we're, basically by returning a letter to him, we're stating that we're not ignoring him, but we feel that, what he is requesting is not justified, and what we are, our position is that we're willing to, you know, compromise.
And we're willing to be reasonable, we're just
And we're
not
willing to
gonna,
be reasonable.
just not gonna get bullied by him, that's all.
Then I'll do that. I'll send it to you, you can look at it, I'll tidy up the
Put a comma every fifth word, you can't have enough of them.
Sorry?
Put a comma every fifth word, you can't have enough of
I
them.
know, you sound like Lord Timothy Dexter. Did you hear the story of Lord Timothy Dexter?
No.
He couldn't, he never put full stops or commas in any of his stuff, and he wrote this book, and he knew this, and he knew it irritated people, so what he did was at the last 2 pages he had of the book, he had commas and full stops all over those pages, and he said, this is for those who need full stops and commas. Please feel free to sprinkle them throughout the text.
Use them as you wish.
I would, my thought is to add the latest
Yes,
deficiency
yeah,
and
Incorporated in the.
And there you go, listed as a deficiency, listed as a, in other words, put a negative title with
We
it,
basically-
and listed in the letter, so,
we've encountered another
you know what I'm saying?
design.
Well, he's already received that, by the way.
Yeah, but basically put in here, received, we've now encountered another design issue.
Shortcoming of the project.
Do they know if it's a
a design issue with the stage lighting.
Do they know if it's a design issue, or was
Was it built to design?
was corners cut when they installed it?
As far as we know, it's a design, or an installation issue that has caused
Well,
multiple,
put design/installation issue,
yeah,
right?
okay?
We, in other words, we don't know, but
We
it's
don't
one
know,
of the two.
neither
right?
none of us here are electricians,
Right.
so, but this was an issue that was brought to our attention.
Okay.
So every time they go to use the stage or the stage lighting, they're blowing the fuse, is that the right? Brand new building.
Unless they leave a bunch of lights off. Okay,
Okay, all right, so I will tidy up that piece and hopefully incorporate it. And what I'll do is I'll send it to everybody, to comment on. I'll send it to everybody to comment on, prior to sending it out,
Yep.
okay?
Yep, you think the guy in wiring would know he was
Would have caught that,
wiring
yeah.
saw, yeah.
Okay, the next issue, as I pointed out to you in my email, when I sat down and looked at the bidding documents, I realized that they were referring to a diagram, etc., and they went through this. They had a diagram with the old generator piece, and I realized that we would have to have a drawing, and we would have to have it with a stamp with an electrical engineer, so I didn't feel I could pursue this any further, so
why do you say you have to have a stamp for electrical engineer?
because that's what Greg hadn't told me we would need.
Yeah, in other words, you need a stamp drawing to for the correction of what's gonna be done.
For the alteration,
Okay.
Alteration.
because we did, right now the system is correct, it's just that we're going to alter it,
Okay.
modify it.
That's right.
So an engineer would have to draw something up and stamp it saying this is the way to fix it.
So what I did was I took the liberty of contacting the company that had done the previous work. This is out of Marion, Massachusetts, it's TCI. Guy, his name is Jim Conway, and he lives in Newburyport, so they've assigned him this job to look at it, at any rate. And what I wondered about was, has he had a chance to look at it yet? So what happened was, Greg Haddon and he contacted him, and with Mike as well, I think. And he did go down with Greg Haddon and look at the situation. So he is going to, I assume, make some kind of suggestions, and the price, I assume, will be attached to it.
So he's gonna make a proposal
Exactly.
before he does the work.
Exactly.
We need a proposal.
He's gonna do a proposal on,
What,
On what
on the
he's-
engineering or on the actual work?
on the engineering,
Okay.
the diagram.
You talk about the generator, or we still
No,
on
we're
the
talking about this issue,
the fuse lights?
Right.
Wire?
No, we're talking about the generator.
Okay.
We're
We're
talking,
talking about the generator.
okay,
That's
okay,
what I thought.
we're talking about the automatic transfer switch.
right.
Well, yes,
That's what we
and
voted.
whether, yes, that's right. Really, we're talking about the automatic transfer switch and
The associated wiring.
and associated wiring. We're really not going to be buying an emergency generator. We're either gonna lease it, or we're going to
Yeah.
rent it, or whatever it is we're gonna do, right? Because we couldn't afford
You better
full
grab your
enchilada.
5,000 watt, bring 'em down.
So, apparently he has looked at the situation. I talked to Greg Haddon today. He said he's gone away to give a proposal. So I'm awaiting hearing from him on that. I didn't pursue any other engineer because, you have to be really careful with these consultants. You can't be bidding one against the other. So I put my hat in the ring here with this guy, and let's see how he does. He sounded reasonable. He is not the person who did the work prior, that study that we had looked at.
Yeah, the guy that
Yes.
wrote up 19 pages and couldn't sign his name correctly.
Right.
Couldn't sign his name to it?
No, he signed his name, spelled it wrong. on the bottom line, he spelled his name wrong, and his name was Richard.
Dick?
No, he did not spell Richard correctly.
Camera.
So that's where we're at the moment. The question I have for you is, it's not a big project, namely the diagram is not that extensive. I know that you spent 10K on,
I was gonna say, yeah, we spent 10,000 for
Yeah.
9.
yeah, now,
But that was a full design.
yeah, well, now bear in mind, we do have the old bidding documents, so we could essentially piggyback on those. If you did the diagram and we piggybacked on the bid documents, I think we might be able to get it down to at least 10, or maybe less.
What?
Bear in mind, this was 10 or close to 10, how many years ago? 8 or 9 years
Yeah, I
ago?
was gonna say it was 10
That
It's
years
was
gonna
for-
be a lot more now.
No, but that was for a full design.
I understand.
All we're looking for is a single drawing showing the automatic transfer switch and the associated wiring to the receptacle on the exterior of the building.
Can't they just buy
Done.
the switch and have the electrician install it? I mean, it seems like we're,
Oh, you still,
Just
somebody
don't-
still has to make a schematic about how you're doing it.
Still, since we're, you still have to get it properly designed. Because it's a public building.
yeah,
And it's the same thing, it's just like, you say, well, the stage lights, geez, anyone can wire those, but look at, there's an issue.
no, that was
You
an
know what I'm saying?
engineered system.
But that's what I'm saying is so, but then there's somebody to go, the engineer has some liability there as to why it doesn't work
Yeah,
right.
that's why he puts his stamp on it.
Right, exactly.
Now, the question now is, do you want to put a price on what you think it would be worth to do this?
No, I think you should just wait for the
Yeah, I
proposal,
think you should.
get the
Okay.
proposal in and send it out to us.
Okay,
I would agree with that.
okay, and then we'll bring, when we've got the proposal, then we'll all sit down and chew the fat. Okay, fine, that's no problem. Okay, next item is the irrigation of the field, water issues, etc. The irrigation of the field, I have had serious qualms about. I don't think I can legitimately, especially in the light of the new budgetary situation, I have qualms about spending 32,000 on putting loam and seed on there. However, I had a thought the other day, and I thought, what would it be if we irrigated the existing field? And we didn't put in lots of seed and lots of new loam, etc. Because there's a good, fairly extensive layer of loam on it already. And if we
When you
wanted,
say the extension, the existing field, are you talking over by the playground? Are you talking right out behind?
No, between the playground over to the baseball diamond,
Yeah.
there's a big field there.
it's a big
The
field.
big field with the 2 baseball fields.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So you're talking about lumen and seed and that?
No, we were talking about it, and I'm
Now
now
we're talking about just
suggesting we
irrigating it,
rescind
yeah.
that.
No.
Okay, well,
I disagree with that.
we'll have a vote on this, okay. I'm just throwing out ideas, okay?
I understand that.
For discussion, for
But, you know,
discussion.
one of the ideas I thought about this, I saw this coming, when the money was tight, I figured this was gonna be the one that's gonna get the hit. But if nothing else, let's put loom down and let the irrigation go, because as long as it's loom, we can grow grass on that. Same grass we got growing all over town that's growing on loom, but we cannot get the grass to grow on that damn sand out there. So,
Well, hang on a minute. What I did was, when we were looking at the field with Bobby O'Kelly, we took a shovel and we poked around and we looked at what was there. And it wasn't, as you suggest, that sandy. Now, I will grant that there's an area to the left, near where the wind has blown some of that sand off the flat, the mined area, has blown some of the sand onto there. But most of it is not sandy.
prior to that land being disturbed, that
Yeah.
was sandy soil.
Oh, it was, okay,
They've had that, soil tested back
Okay.
when we had a,
all right.
Where they put the water line through, it was an inch of loam and then the rest is just pure sand.
Okay.
That's basically,
and that's what I'm saying, if we're gonna take a cut you know, from the get-go, I've been hearing from Greg LeBrecq, we have loom down here, let's haul it up there and spread it out, we have loom over here.
I don't think you own the loom over there though, do you?
I don't know, but that's what was thrown on the table by, at the time, the business manager, so. If you gotta make a cut, you know, if they have to haul out water cannons to keep this stuff, get this stuff established, so be it. But, there needs to be some loom put out there, for
So-
God's sakes.
And the irrigation could get done at any point. once-
Right, they could pull pipe at any time, and I would agree
First of
with
all,
that.
you don't put the irrigation in before you loom it,
Right.
cause you're just gonna destroy it.
Right. But,
But the other thing, and this is where you and I disagree, is that I don't remember a promise in that field. And
that was talked about there, in
it was
fact,
talked about,
it
but it
was
was never on
actually
any documents that we presented to the
at
public.
the town meeting, it was absolutely talked about, and it was said, and for the first time, we'll actually have grass out behind the Bagnell school. And that's exactly what was said. So,
Well, I think
Because they never carried a budget item for it.
Well, hang on.
We never
One
did,
at a
because we
time,
knew
guys,
this.
one at a time.
we never did, but we always knew that this was gonna be one of the
Last item.
last items, and, you know,
All right, let Jim have a comment here. We're gonna say
So,
something, Jim.
Yeah, and I have a couple, so I went down to the field today, I took pictures of the whole field, I took pictures of the parking lot, because I knew we were gonna be discussing some things, and, as last time I talked about, one of my concerns is, it's a lot of money to spend to do this field, and as we found out at the last meeting, no one's even using the field, except for the kids at recess.
at recess, right.
And I'll tell you that the kids don't even use the entire field at recess. They only use the small
If there was-
portion next to the
And
hot
I would
dog.
debate if there was grass behind there, they most certainly would use it, they're probably playing,
Well, the reason they don't, Doug, I'm not, the reason they don't is because they don't have the recess aides out there at recess to cover the entire field and the playground.
Right.
So they put one recess aid right next to the hot top in that field to play
Yeah.
soccer, and then they play over on the playground, the hot top. So the rest of that field is not even being used. And then, like I went down to the field today, and I think I mentioned last time, another big concern I have is putting that money into the field. You know, these fields have turned out wonderful because they're maintained.
right,
And I went down there today and took the pictures, it's knee high again.
right.
They're not cutting any of the grass, they're not maintaining it. For us to put that money into it, and then it all go to hell.
Can you forward those pictures
Yeah,
to me?
yeah.
Because I'll bring this up at the school.
And the
meeting.
reasoning,
And I've said at the last meeting,
and the reasoning
grass was
for it,
there,
when
I'll
I
get
have
it mowed.
questioned them on it, it's because there are kids on the field, we can't mow when there are kids on the field. Well, you know what, come before the kid, you know,
Yeah.
and those things, so
when
I
I
did
worked
go
for the
down.
school, I used to mow all the fields. I
Um,
know exactly the thing,
yeah, and
times
so-
they could be mowed.
That is my concern.
Right.
How much is it being used? Is it that worthwhile thing? I think as I went down there today and chatted with people today, and I'll show you the pictures on here, I know we were gonna talk about the parking lot as well. And I mentioned last time, my concern the parking lot, and there are major issues with that, that I took picture of too. And I think that was another thing that was part of the plan when we talked about it one, that there was gonna be a parking lot on that side of the
That
building.
got cut on the side.
But it's
you know,
also
that
very
got cut.
simple, if we take the list of what we got, we prioritize it, and even by vote if we have to, and everybody votes what the priorities are, and whatever comes out number one gets done first. We're out of money, we're out of money.
And here's the thing with the parking lot, when we look at the money, and I know it's next on the agenda, John, but I went down and I counted the parking spots, because this has been an issue for us down at the school. So, the side parking lot where the old cafeteria used to be, now it's the offices that park on the side of the building, has 25 spots.
Mhm.
The new space that we created, that new.
On the right-hand side,
On the right-hand side has 25 spots.
Right.
The main parking lot has 60. And that area, we can't have any more cars parked in that area but the 60 because delivery trucks now come drop their stuff off, they have to be able to get around. So, you know,
what area are you referring to? You're talking behind the
the
school?
main parking lot that's
Oh,
right
yeah, on the
with Big
left
Jim,
hand,
yeah.
on the far left hand.
So that has 60 spots, so that the trucks can get around to. There are 100 employees at Bagnell School, every one of them driving their own car. So there's 100 cars right there that is just employees coming in to park. Then you have parents that are coming throughout the day. Then you have, at least once a month, we have school-wide events or at night PTs. There's
Well,
600
how
and
many
something
cars
kids.
were you able to add up?
So we have 60 in the big one.
I got from his tally of 60, 25, and 25.
Well, what about behind the school? They stop parking out
They
behind?
stop parking out behind it. So there's
Okay.
no one parking out behind it anymore, and that's the other thing, that if we were to do grass,
Mhm.
and we keep the parking the way it is, we teachers, when there are big events and stuff, we are asked to park out on the grass.
Yeah, well, the area,
So-
when I talked to the guys about what area would we want along, I said the gravel area just off the road where the cars are parked, I said, don't do that, because it's very clear that it's not gonna be suitable for grass. Just leave that alone, and just only leave enough space for a row of cars along there if we need it.
Yeah.
So they're aware of that. Let me, are you?
Go ahead.
Let me show you some of the thoughts I had with it.
I've just got a couple of comments too.
Okay.
Well,
Is this the south parking lot? Is
no,
this
I'm
the
not
parking
talking
lot?
about second parking lot.
Okay.
The original parking lot, that is still the original parking lot, where you say there's 60 spaces.
Mhm.
What do we lose when we put the addition on in there for spaces?
When we put the addition on,
Yeah, do
what
we,
do you lose
What
in?
do you
we
lose
didn't
in?
lose any?
No.
Okay, so it's no plus or minus, that's the thing. Then we created the north parking lot,
Correct.
25, we added 25 spaces.
Mhm.
The parking lot on the end of the building where the principal parks and the auxiliary generator is, that did not change. That's still got 25 spaces.
Correct.
So we put the addition on, and we gave them 25 more spaces. We haven't created a negative.
No.
Well, the negative is what that side of the building looks like. It's a disaster zone.
On the south side.
The old gym, where the old gym is, where we
Yeah, the
push
south
out
Yeah,
stuff.
but nobody parked there
It
before.
looks terrible.
Yes,
But-
it
but
does,
now-
it does, I
But
agree.
now that area, because of what they've switched in the building, that area is now pick-up and drop-off area for the before and after school program as well. So you have 100 and some odd kids that are using that door and parents are parking there, but they can't because you got that, the parking lot looks terrible. So if you've got floods, you got ice that are coming in there.
Okay,
I'm just
well-
saying that we created that area. We made it look that way. We didn't create the backfield. The backfield's been there for 16-something years, it's looked like that.
I agreed that we removed the soils to create a future parking lot.
Well, it was a staging area for construction.
It was a staging area for construction. And then when our intention was to get the milled base from when they rebuilt School Street, there was an agreement made that we could use the milled base to put down a base in that south parking lot. Does everybody remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the state is running, as usual, behind schedule,
Mhm.
so it could be next year before we get that.
doesn't Bobby have some grinding going on somewhere though, no? We can get
No.
some T-base on it, no?
No. So then, until we get the T-base for that. We did approve the $5,400 to do the drainage. That should help.
I mean, as I said, that needs to get done before you put T-base in there anyway.
Yes, exactly. And so we've given Bobby Arkalian the go-ahead on the drainage.
We have.
My thought process is that I don't see a negative. The school elected to cause traffic in an area that was the laydown area.
But can't they, like he said, if they're using it like that though, I still think we have an obligation to make it safe.
And I'm gonna-
I agree.
And I'll show you, like I said, the pictures
Well,
I took of where they are.
I drew by it
Yeah,
100
and seeing
times.
what it is, but I think my point too is that creating that parking lot, like you just did the numbers, and I see Kim on the paper, 110 spots we have, right?
Yeah.
And 100 are taken up by staff when the day starts, at least 10 spots for anyone else that shows up.
Staff,
You gotta check on that.
So,
it's because the teachers,
You know what I mean? So then if you have
Well,
a
we-
special event, you have 600 something kids in the
Oh,
school.
I
And
know,
everybody shows up.
hey, I've parked all the way
So-
up and I've parked on School Street.
So all I'm saying is, if you complete that parking lot, so now you have plenty of parking for anything that goes on there, that's gonna be much more of a benefit to the school than having some grass on the field that is only half the field is being used, the other half isn't even being used, and the kids are gonna play on it without any problem.
And what do you
whether
get,
there's grass
you
on
get
it.
2 months in the fall and 2 months in the spring out.
That's it. They don't play on it all winter. Yeah, that's just my opinion. If the youth leagues
I've
were
made
using
my
it,
point, I'm not driving it home anymore. I've
If the
made my
youth-
point.
if the
You
youth-
All right,
guys
all
do
right,
it.
all right,
You
all
guys
right.
do
All
what
right,
you
hang
want.
on, I've got a little piece to say. I haven't had a chance yet, but
So,
Let's listen to John.
okay,
I've got a thought here. The thought I had was, could we compromise? Because I knew what your position was, Doug. And I thought, is it possible that we could irrigate the field without putting any loam down? Now I know, this is a compromise, Doug. It is not a solution that you like, I know
I'd go
that.
the other way, I mean,
Hang on, let me
we're gonna have a lot of
finish.
sand.
Let me
All right.
finish.
Let's hear 'em out.
So what I wanted to
Let's
do
even
was,
tear it up,
I
put stone
asked,
down there.
I asked the irrigation guy, could he do irrigating the hard pan that is currently there? I said, so that we could get the job done, we could at least water the area, and would it cost additional money to do that? And he said, yes, it would. And I said, well, how much money? And he called me this evening, because he had a check, he checked it today. He cut into this, he said, there is some stone, but not a lot. He said, most of it is pretty good. He said, if we irrigated it, we could bring the grass up to reasonable shape. And it would cost an additional $700 over and above his original bid. So it would be $7,000. Now that seems to me a pretty good compromise if we could make the grass a little greener.
They watered that grass twice a day, they had big water cannons
I was
out
gonna
there,
say, one,
and that went on for weeks. And what you got is what you got, so if you're gonna cut the loom, cut everything. Don't waste your money on the loom, don't waste your money on the irrigation, cause it's just not gonna grow.
I do remember when they did that.
Thank you.
My kids were there at the school at the time, and they did water it and water it and
And
water
it
it.
will not grow.
And
You
it was
just don't
just-
have enough nutrients in that ground up there, it's sand. So if we're gonna go that way, we're just gonna cut it, put the parking lot down, do whatever you gotta do, and forget about it. But people gotta talk. People will talk.
Okay, now, the other point, I guess, was that if you decided not to do it, then we could take those resources and put it over into the south parking lot. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not terribly keen on filling that parking lot with tarmac completely. Because one, I don't think it's necessary. I know there are a couple of times a year when there's a lot of traffic and whatever, when there's a tremendous demand for parking spaces. But it doesn't seem to me that we should be making a school that for parking for these very occasional events.
The high school, middle school, they get parked on the street every time we have a major event there. This is something that every school deals
Right, I
with.
was gonna say.
Exactly.
That kind of overflow, we can't, we can't put
Exactly,
a
we
parking
shouldn't be
garage in.
trying to.
But there's
meet
no
that.
reason that we can't T-base the rest of it and
I-
just make it reasonable, you know?
Well, I think we could T-base, say, 3/4 of it.
Right,
But because Bobby, what he did was, he went overboard because he said, oh, I have to put a place to put the snow, et cetera, but he made the parking lot actually something like 30 foot wider than was originally planned. And he just went nuts on that project, he really did. So my feeling on the issue is that we can certainly deal with the south parking lot, but the question now is, do we want to spend any money on T-base that we're not waiting for this road grinding up or whatever, and do we spend some money on that T-base?
If it's just a matter of time before we get it for less money. I
yeah, but
would.
it could be 2 years.
It could be 2 or 3 years.
That's what I'm saying, I'd get the stuff and get it done, forget about it.
I
The problem
I
is,
would wait.
the
I would
frost
wait.
and, the thaw and freeze cycle turns this place into a disaster because of the mud. And then, like he said, if they're picking kids up and they're
That's
driving through it and tracking them in the building and
That's
everything
right.
else, what good is that?
These are some of the questions. So, first off, also, Jim and I had a little chat about this grassy thing, because I wanted him to investigate it a little bit. And he came up with the idea that somebody said that if they had a ride-around mower, he would mow it.
So the guys at the school, the custodians at the school said that.
No, the custodians at the school have jobs as custodians. We have a grounds
I
department,
was
and
gonna
I
say
will address that at the school committee meeting.
They can't even clean the building. They're saying the building, they don't have enough
Well,
help
see,
to
and I
clean the
think
building.
that's
They
part
don't
of my worry with the field as well, is that we created the square footage in the building, and they won't clean the inside of the building, they can't get that job done. And now we're going to create the
Yeah,
grounds.
but part of it, I think, is political, because they're like, well, we got all this more square footage to clean, and nobody's giving us an extra hand, nobody's doing this, no.
And he's got a point. They've
Well,
got a
I
point.
understand, but you know, if they wanted to get it done, if there was some incentive for them to get it done, they would get it done.
Yeah,
We did add 16,000 square feet to the building. Actually, a little bit more. But,
And they're charging,
Yeah, that's pretty-
they're making money on that 16,000 square feet to cover the extra custodial costs in the gym.
yeah, but the problem is that they haven't added, I agree.
And again, it's not that
They're redoing
It's
the
a
fee
management
structure for the
problem
gym
at the
use.
at the central office.
I would agree
And
with
the
that.
school committee can address that.
now,
We'll address that. It'll be put on the agenda, the people will have to answer for it. And
so besides for creating the maintenance of the field, my next question would be with the field is there going, what's the cost then to water the field? Who's paying that cost?
That's
What's
the
bill
next
for
issue.
watering
There
the
was
building?
going to be
And
very
that's why
close.
I said I would give up on the water. If you put the right type of loom down, it will grow grass.
I disagree with you. Look at the, out here, before they put the sprinkler system on here, you couldn't grow crap.
That's right.
So they put the sprinkler system, and now there's a lawn. And basically, they took a crap lawn, they put a sprinkler system in, and they nurtured it and fertilized it, and they made it nice.
The key for, that I've learned over the years, and of course it's not in my yard, that's for sure, is that with sand base, you've got to have a loam that's got some clay in it, so it maintains the
Hold the
water.
water, right.
So the water just, when you sprinkle it, doesn't go right down through the top 2 inches of loam, and once it hits
Right.
once it hits that layer of sand, it is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
I would like to, I don't want to keep dragging this out, but I had talked to Greg LeBrecq a couple weeks ago. I stopped by to see Greg had and I talked to both Gregs. And there was a possibility there'd be some loom left over from behind the middle school.
Wouldn't know about it. There's another committee of people that are taking care of that.
So they'd have to truck it off. I said, well, I know where you can truck it to.
Absolutely. If there's a win-win situation like that, we should absolutely do
So
it.
I left that with Greg LeBrecq and he was gonna look out for that.
Anybody can pull it off, it will be great.
Yeah. I do not know what the agreement was down here in the Pines. I know that the contractor sold the sand. Some of it was good quality for septic system, some of it was just basic fill.
Not much of it was good for septic sand, anyway.
And he sent a check to the town for whatever agreed price per yard. And then he made a few bucks on it. And at the end, he's supposed to give us 2 fields down here. He's got one already graded out, and then the second one's gonna be up this way. I know he's got quite a stockpile of loam. That loam is technically town property.
But that's what I'm saying, I don't know if you know that for a fact, because I thought the deal was that they sold the whole kit and caboodle to the contractor that's digging it out, with the understanding that the town got whatever, X number of dollars, or X percent, or X piece per yard, in other words, 50 cents a yard, or $1 a yard, or
And
whatever
they
they
ended up
got.
getting like, they ended up getting like $2 a yard.
Right, right, that's what I'm saying, but basically,
So
the other guy
sometimes
owns the whole
in the
lot.
winter, the town gets nothing, and when the guy starts hauling out and hauls out 200 loads, the town gets
the
a
money,
check.
right, right. But certainly, I would think somebody should investigate what the scoop is with the loam, and if we could get loam cheap either over there or over there. There's an old expression in the business that they say the dirt's free, it's moving it that costs the money.
Right.
The loading it, dumping it, trucking it, and then spreading it, so.
But what I was thinking is that we had a price to do the backfield at the school of roughly $32,000 from Bobby. He was gonna have to get the loom from somewhere.
You're probably getting it from Larry Kelly right down on Salem Street.
If we can cut some of the expenses and just pay the trucking, if we're taking town of Groveland loom from here, we're moving to the town of Groveland property over there, we're not paying for the loom,
Right.
we're paying for the trucking.
Yeah, that's, the trucking, that's what I'm saying, is the loom, I
But-
don't care where it is, it's free, it's
Bobby's
moving it, it
price
costs the money.
included purchasing loom,
Well, I don't know what it included, that's why I have to stop and talk to Bobby.
okay. See,
And I didn't know, cause I know that a lot of the loom that was down there went to Larry Kelly, cause he had a screener. Larry Kelly also took the blast that we whole rammed out of the trench.
Right, so part of it was done.
He
in
was
exchange,
glad to get
right,
rid of
right, right.
the rock. Nobody needs rock. And he had a crusher down there, and he crushed it up into 3/4 stone. Hey, good for him, he paid for the crusher. That's unclear to me as to, do we have to buy the loom back, or what deal was made?
Well, so you can see though, there's 2 or 3 options on the loom, somebody's gotta go.
Now, if we can get
Flush 'em out,
if we can get a few hundred yards of loom for a reasonable price, I'd say we throw it out there in that sandy section.
But we gotta water it, right? I mean, I think you
Well,
have to
you
water
can't-
it, you can't just throw anything down, it's not gonna, if we don't have it irrigated.
No, that's not always true, if you plant a lawn right around Labor Day, it's cold enough in the morning, or when the nights get cool, you get dew or
But I mean,
condensation.
but I mean,
Right.
but I mean, over time, it may grow fine,
Yeah.
but let's say 5 years from
Yeah.
now, if we're not having a water system set up there, it's.
Yeah, I'm saying,
It'll
what
go
I'm saying is that,
dormant, but it will come back.
what I'm saying is, if we can get a couple inches of good topsoil over the sand, and it gets sealed, and you start to get some of the, grass rooted in, it'll be an improvement. Now, if we have to talk to somebody and see if they can put it in the maintenance budget for next year for $7,000 to put the sprinkler system in next spring, fine. I'm just looking to try and stretch a dollar, but I think we've done a great job as far as for what was spent and what that addition is worth, and the kids are happy. That was our whole intention. I think that was our whole thing, was that we're doing it for the kids.
It certainly would've cost more money today than it did yesterday.
Right now, with all the improvements to the original school, plus the addition, we've got about what monies were borrowed, what monies were taken out of accounts on hand, about $8 million. The estimate is that to put that addition and do all the renovations to the school, less the state reimbursement and everything else, you're talking $13 million.
Hey, I think it's wonderful that we're sitting here in a meeting and we actually have money left over that we can talk about doing
Yeah.
another project.
You know,
You're not talking about all
and I
that
tell you
time.
what,
We don't
that
have
that anybody in the district, whether they be school committee or the new superintendent or anybody that is or any of the staff down there that are unsatisfied with the new structure. Unless nobody says anything to me. But
So, we have to.
I think we still have to do some more talking and research.
Well, yeah, and I think, we need to prioritize what we need to get done. and
Well,
wrap
it
up.
seems to me the consensus seems to be until we have this loan issue sorted out, then we're not making commitment to 32K
Right.
below mean C. Is
I
that a
would-
reasonable statement?
Yeah. And you know, when we're done with everything else, if you can go to Bobby and say, Bobby, this is what we have left, how much loan will that buy us? We're making an effort, but just to cut the whole thing,
Bobby understands
you
it.
know, I understand if we hand them 15,000, say, this is what we have, what can we do with it?
He'll do the best he can possibly
Right.
do, because he's always done the best he can
But,
possibly do.
The question, I guess, I'm just trying to straighten this out in my own head. It seems to me the irrigation issue is going to be delayed until the loan issue is sorted out.
I think we'd have to say we have.
I would agree with that.
I'd
If
say
not
we have to put a
permanently.
temporary hold on loom and irrigation until we find out what we can get from leftovers from other projects.
Loom, seed, and irrigation.
Yeah. And I'm not saying a stop, I'm not saying a full hold, I'm saying a temporary hold.
No,
And I
this
want it
is
worded
for the
that way.
field, this is not for the
Right,
mined
right,
area. The
right.
mined area, I want us to go ahead with that. That's only 4,000, and that we should address that and get that covered.
I disagree with that. If we have an area where the kids won't be out in, they won't be out running around in, it's off limits to the mental playground. But this area here, they just about cross it going out for recess. I would put all the money into this area and let nature take its course over here.
I was gonna say, I would agree with that. The woods will fill back in after a period of time.
Absolutely.
It'd be a
absolutely.
long time to,
Nah, you'd be surprised, 5 years, you won't even know
Yeah.
that thing was there.
I agree.
Fills in faster than you think.
Before I can tell someone, listen, we're taking $4,000 and we're gonna put it on grass seed, but we don't play out there, the kids don't run out there.
we're not putting glass seed there, what we're doing is putting loam there, that's all.
No, he had it.
You
the way
gotta
it was-
see
he
the way it was worded.
Yeah, that's right, loam
Yeah.
and seed, you're
You
right.
gotta
would-
see it.
Well, yeah, you're
That
right,
was the
you're
way
right.
it was worded.
That's
I would,
right.
To be honest with you, I'd almost tell him to take the bark chips from the chip truck
Yeah, spread that
and
up.
spread it out there.
over
That-
time,
that will-
that'll fill in
That will
fast.
mulch in.
And that will cause trees to grow, give them something to grab on.
Okay, well, maybe that's a solution to that. Can he do that? I mean, has he got enough tree stuff to do that with?
Yes, they,
Just tell Steve's tree service, they'll dump all you want on it.
Oh, is that right?
and then all you do is get a small machine, you spread it all out,
Spread
and you
it
got,
out.
you,
Bobby's got a little machine.
and you got, and you have some ground cover, which will stop the erosion, stop the sand from blowing. And therefore, we,
Okay, well, why don't I approach Bobby on that issue?
I appreciate that.
That's a good idea. I like
Yeah.
that. I just hate to see that whole area of sand blowing around, blowing.
What's there
blowing.
now, just sand, there's no
Yeah,
grass, no nothing
that's
on
it's
it?
it.
got,
That's
it's
it.
got a, you
Doesn't
know, it
sound-
hasn't got a cover of leaves yet,
Right.
but it's got some weeds growing through it.
Okay, so now we turn our last attention to the parking lot, the south parking lot. What are we gonna do then? Are we gonna wait on the T-base?
I would get
I would
the
vote to wait.
drainage done.
Drainage
And
done.
then hunt for some T-base, local. Somebody around's gotta be grinding, they gotta be grinding somewhere.
I would say that we voted at the last meeting, a week and a half ago, to do the drainage, to get the drainage done. And then see what we can cost for some T-base, you know, if we need to put in 300 or 400 yards of T-base, let's get an estimate on it and meet back here and see what.
They're talking about School Street going out to bid this fall. But just because it goes out to bid doesn't mean they're
I know,
gonna award a contract right away. Cause I got a couple of water services to do there, I have to dig in the streets, so I'm trying to get it done
yeah.
ahead of time, but Bobby told me it was no
What'd
hurry.
you have, put a new bathroom in that house?
No, I sold it. The house up on School Street?
Yeah.
Sold it.
Oh, so that's not your dumpster? And you didn't rebuild the front porch?
No.
Somebody else did?
I kept the two lots, I took 2 lots out.
But, so,
Okay, well,
I'd like to pursue seeing if we can round up some loom. If we can round up some loom and get it spread in October,
Yeah, anytime from Labor Day to that whole next month and a half, it's prime time.
you know, even if the kids run on it and during school time, this grass will still grow.
Yeah,
Just in that time of year. Therefore, we're kind of,
Over in West Newbury, they got practice soccer field, they got 3 full fields. The 3 full fields are irrigated, the top practice is not irrigated. They run their irrigation every week, you cannot tell the difference from one field to the next. The top field has the right amount of loam and retains the water as it should, and the bottom fields are getting the water. You can't tell the difference.
are they gonna have that whole thing put back together in 3.5 weeks?
Don't care. I didn't support it, I didn't vote for it, don't care. Okay,
like a thorn in his side.
absolutely. $3 million.
Okay, do we need to revise any of our motions, do you think?
I think that we need to make a motion to temporarily put the drainage and loaming of the rear field temporarily on hold.
Not the drainage.
No, not the drainage, the
The
irrigation, excuse me, irrigation and loam of the rear field on temporary hold until we explore where we can get some loam fairly reasonable over the next few weeks and meet again in mid to late August. Since tomorrow's August 1st,
I'd second that.
Who is going to approach or ask about the loan?
I will,
I don't know
I-
Bobby that well.
I'll chase some of that.
I'm going to be away next week, so I just thought, just
Right.
for a week, that's all.
We're gonna,
I think we need to make a motion to, abandon the, room and seating of the, stage inside area.
The mind area.
plant grass now.
Can't we get all the little kids to go out there and just everyone plant one tree?
They have the garden, yeah, they work in the garden.
There you go, everybody go out and plant a tree, right? They have their own forest here, they can plant Christmas trees.
I will talk to,
Go buy them.
I talked to Bobby and a few other locals about if they've got a bunch of chips. We also need to look into, make sure that that's environmentally acceptable.
What, the chips, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would say if they come from Groveland.
Yes.
They're indigenous to the town, right?
Okay, wood chips for the,
Make sure they're full
For the
of
vine
those
area.
Asian beetles,
Yeah,
too.
Longhorn.
So
All
we're
the
going-
Asian beetles,
so we're
saddle
going,
up.
so we're going to abandon the loam and seed of the mind area
No,
and
oh yes.
replace it with wood chips. And maybe encourage tree implantation.
So I have Doug made that motion and I just need a second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
What about the south parking lot? Do we have to revise anything on that?
I said that I was gonna chase Bobby and find out.
No, you were talking about the loan.
I also, previous to that, said I would find out what it's gonna cost for team mix.
Oh, T-base.
And,
Yeah, get the drainage done.
When I'm
and
talking
take
to him
time
about
to-
loam, I can ask the man about the T-base.
a T-base is not gonna be something that makes a mess either with the parking, like plowing.
Oh, it's compact, compact
It
sound almost like,
compacts down.
It compounds, it's
Isn't that
it's
what's
like
in the
stone dust,
parking
except
lot?
it's got a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
petroleum in it.
that's what's in the
And-
north
And,
parking
and,
lot.
and tell you what, it'll let-
T-base is in the north parking lot.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
That's what they put in there? Okay, I thought.
then they hot topped over.
They did hot top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the base that was
So-
there when they were, before they hot topped, was T-base.
It keeps it from getting muddy and everything.
And to be honest with you, when you drive on it enough,
No, I remember it. I remember
Yeah, wait till you
it.
gotta rip it up, it's just like ripping up hot top.
oh, it's like
So
we're
there
gonna hot
are,
top.
there are some areas that I would suggest over there too, that are looked at, that are high traveled areas by the kids going out to recess, that because of the drainage problem and where the hot tub is,
Oh,
have
we're
now
gonna-
become,
We're gonna, yeah, no, we're gonna
For
try to
the
straighten out
base.
the drainage problem.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, but if they straighten out the drainage problem, then they can
Put
shim
some
it by the
T-bait,
building.
Yeah,
put
well,
some-
they'll shim it.
they
Yeah,
need
the
to put
shim
something
it push the
on
water
it.
back
Yeah.
into the drainage, right?
Any other issues?
Yeah,
Are we done?
we're done.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Sure.
So I'll be away, as I say, for a week, but I will assume that I will have something about the emergency generator piece, the ATS and wiring sometime a week after I get back.
This is Arbor Day, can't they get those trees?
It's in April, no, it's in June, isn't it? Arbor Day? No, that's,
Get those trees
it's
going.
in the spring.